Alrighty, folks. Thanks for tuning in for another Cruise with Smooth. Hope y'all doing okay tonight. So, before I get into it, I just want to ask for a like, comment, and subscription. I've always said this whenever I ask for it. If there's anything you want to know my opinion on, put it in the comments. If it's something that I know nothing about, I will be more than happy to try to do a little research and come up with an opinion on the issue. So, all that said, tonight while I was at work, I put in one of my earbuds and I listened to the live stream of the presidential debate. And to start off with a touch of a joke, if you would have played the debate drinking game just using the Trump, China, and the Biden, come on, man, as the cues to consume an adult beverage, you would have died. So, first, I'm just going to start there. Something that's highly irritating to me about the debates, and I'm not even going to say who I'm going to pull the lever for, because honestly, for me, it's a toss-up between Trump and Jo Jorgensen. I think you can make a great case against Biden and a case against Trump. My opinion. I think that Trump, the case comes more down to character than it does to policy. I think that if the president, oops, hit an expansion joint in the bridge, sorry folks. So, my opinion on this, suppose that I went over this a long time ago in the podcasts, and I don't remember when it was, but I've kind of clarified the way that I look at it. Suppose that in the past 40 years, so you're going from Reagan, H.W. Bush, Clinton, George W. Bush, and then Obama and Trump, okay? You can even go back longer than that, go 50 years. My opinion is that if every 4 years on the inauguration day, if there was an inanimate object put in the White House as the President of the United States, Chief of the Executive Branch, that did the exact same things the President did from strictly a legislative point of view, that presidents would be viewed differently. So, for an example, the inanimate object that would have been put into office in 2008, taxpayer dollars for abortion, DACA, ACA, and I could go on. I think that inanimate object gets viewed harsher in the media than Obama does. My opinion could be wrong. I don't know. So, I try to look at those involved in politics through less of a lens about their personality foibles, their character flaws, their drama, and more about what actually goes on. And I completely lost my train of thought here. Give me a second. I hate when that happens. So, oh, I remember where I was going here. So anyway, that's kind of how I tend to view politicians and politics and whatnot. But, all that said, there's not really a strong argument against Jo Jorgensen. I wish that she could have gotten on the debate stage at any point against any candidate to make some of her political points more broadly known. A while back, I did look up some of the interviews with her. I believe she went on a couple podcasts. I don't know if she went on Rogan or not. I know she went on Dave Rubin. There was a long interview put up with her on one of the libertarian YouTube channels. There's not a strong case against her. But, all that said, what I wanted to talk about the debate was the overall format has, in my opinion, become archaic. I understand why 30, 40 years ago, the format that was set up, I understand why it was set up, why it worked, and why it was the way it was. Because you had Americans all around the country tuning into their TV to watch the debate. And that's kind of the way it was, and you were up against the programming formats of TV. You know, you're going live for an hour and a half, so you've got to get everything in as quickly as possible and in as orderly a manner as possible in order to keep to your programming block, because you're going commercial free for an hour and a half. That's costing revenue. So I get why it was the way it was. But I think that with streaming services such as YouTube, that it's outdated. Now, I've been back and forth with a coworker on this, and he and I talk politics sometimes after work and on break and whatnot, and we don't necessarily agree on all what I'm about to say, but we get down, we do agree partially on this. First off, one of the ideas that I do agree with, I forget who it was that proposed this, is have two moderators that will hold the feet to the fire on, okay, this is the question I asked you, and you started talking, and you used up your time, and you never answered my question. You will answer this question before your time is up. That needs to happen, because there were a ton of unanswered questions where either candidate, both of them did it, and this has gone on longer than just the Trump-Biden deal. This has gone on in numerous debates over the years. I ask a candidate a question. I appreciate your question, but first off, I need to address this, that, or the other, and go off way out into the left field and jump a fence, and then they never get back and they burn their time. Because either they wanted to answer something about something someone said previously concerning them, or concerning one of their points of view, or they're just avoiding that question. So, I think two moderators, one that aligns with each party so they can cross-examine or examine and hold feet to the fire, I think that would be a fantastic idea. The other idea that I had is get a true moderate like Joe Rogan to have him on his show, and I don't care if you're not a subscriber to Rogan, everyone's going to watch it. And on top of that, it would be televised. But I've slogged through some of the longest Joe Rogan podcasts. One of the ones I watched, I think the longest one I watched was the second Alex Jones appearance on Joe Rogan. And it was 4 hours and 45 minutes. Now, I am not saying that I align with Alex Jones. I'm not saying that I agree with all that he says. I do think that some of the things that he said were close enough to reality when it concerns Epstein, when he started going on about the satanic pedophile rings. I did find that interesting, that Epstein showed up. And something else I find interesting about that is they arrested Ghislaine Maxwell due to her implication in a lot of Epstein's alleged, because he was never tried and convicted, activities. And shortly after Ghislaine Maxwell got arrested, you started seeing all these trafficking rings in numerous states getting busted in possession of dozens of missing children. I did find that interesting. But getting back to my point, I was watching that podcast with Joe Rogan hosting Alex Jones, and it was 4 hours and 40 minutes, something like that. And I watched all of it. I didn't watch all of it in one setting. It was just too much. I mean, my mind's sitting there by about the 2 hour mark going into it. But I watched everything on it. And I thought it was very interesting. So, my take on it is you could have a longer, however long Joe Rogan decided to make it, debate, and I don't know that you'd even call that a debate, but you could go through that. He could ask questions. He would likely hold both candidates' feet to the fire on questions. He would likely ask tough questions of both candidates. He wouldn't play suck up to either candidate, because Rogan is, from everything I've heard on his show, highly moderate. He's very much center of the road. He believes in the Second Amendment, free speech, taking care of yourself, being self-sufficient. He believes in taking care of those that can't, setting up a safety net for those that have bad things happen in life. I've been on the safety net several times, both as a kid and as an adult. So that's, he's fiscally conservative. So, he's socially liberal, fiscally conservative. And definitely a fan of a lot of things that are associated with the right. Definitely a fan of a lot of things that are associated with the left. So I don't see how you could really go wrong with that. All that said, I just got tired of question dodging on both sides. Both sides were guilty of it. And there were a lot of unanswered questions. Another thing that really irritated me is, and I couldn't see the mic, I wasn't watching it, so I can't be for certain, but I don't think that they muted Joe Biden's mic at all, and I heard that they didn't even mute Trump's. I'm not sure about that. But I do think that, and the reason I want to say this, and you can go back and watch the debate, it happened in the first 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. There was one part where, I don't remember what was brought up, what the question was, anything like that, but there was one part where Trump was talking and you could hear Biden chuckling through his microphone, not, across the stage, where you just, no, you heard him, and then there was another one where Trump is talking and you hear Biden, oh, come on, man. So, and I heard that there was another time that they didn't mute Trump's mic. I don't know. I wasn't watching it. I was just listening because I was working. So, it's just, I don't think that either candidate is highly persuasive on the undecided voters. I'm not going to make any election predictions on this. I do have, call it gut instincts. And there's certain things I'm seeing that aren't being as publicized in the news as I think that they should be. I do think that there's a lot of variables that aren't being accounted for in the polls. I don't know how that affects it. I'm not going to make a claim to know how that affects it. I just think that there are things that are being missed. And that could swing it no points. It could swing at 10 points in either candidate's favor. Okay, so that is how unsure I am of the things that I've noticed, the things I'm seeing, the things I've heard, the things that I don't think are being accounted for. But it wouldn't surprise me if you see the biggest third-party candidate turnout by election data this year, because I don't think that either candidate is making a strong case for themselves. You know, Joe Biden, he is a fairly inoffensive man, aside from his habits of being creepy with small kids and women coming up and hugging them and sniffing their hair. In my opinion, that is inappropriate unless they're family members. You don't get close enough to sniff their hair unless they're family members. That's kind of my rule of thumb. Or you're dating them. The only times I get to do that, sniff the top of someone's head, and it's not even a sniff, but my girls, and, well, all my kids are, you know, my oldest is 12, she's short, kiss her on the top of her head. All the time. She's a sweet little girl, beautiful, and I enjoy showing. Phone just keeps sliding. Sorry, folks. I enjoy showing affection. I'm a cuddly person. So I think that's one of Joe Biden's biggest personality foibles. But from a policy perspective, he was sitting in office for, what, 45, 47 years in elected office, and then and then for 8 years as a VP. I don't know the total number in Senate versus VP, and all the things he says that he wants to do and says he can do and says he can fix, he did none of it while he was in office. Trump, love him or hate him, he has done stuff. Whether you agree with it or not, he's gotten a lot of stuff done. He's gotten a lot of stuff done that he said he would do. But he's got character flaws. The list would be half a mile wide, written in 10 font. So, you know, where do you come down on that? Like, do you vote for the guy that's, you know, agreeable and would be easier to have over as a dinner guest, but isn't a doer? Or do you vote for the guy that is a doer but's a total prick? I don't know. I can tell you this much: when I hire a person to do a job, I don't care what their personality is. I care how good they do the job. If they're nice, that's just better. But I want them to do a job. But on the flip side, if I am voting for someone that's going to be in a position of power over me, or if I'm going to go to work for somebody, I don't necessarily want to work for a jerk. Quick case in point here. One of my lawn customers that I've been cutting grass for 8 years, I no longer work for him. I work for his wife. Dude's a total jerk. This guy, not naming names, but I'll cut for him, and we were co-workers for 3 years out of all this. Out of the 8 years I've been cutting grass for him. And so we saw each other all the time. And he would refuse to pay me a lot. He'd always settle up, but it would be the kind of thing of, hey, you know, I cut your grass 4 weeks ago, and I've been cutting it every week, and I'd kind of like a little bit of money. And, I'll pay you when I forgot. I ain't writing the check. And, I mean, just round and round and round we go, but eventually he'd pay up. I quit doing business with him. Then his wife contacted me and said, you can deal with me, ain't got to deal with him. I know how he is. I'll take care of you. And by golly, she has. I get paid every week. I send her an invoice through Facebook Pay, and I get paid within 24 hours typically. Longer if she's out of town, off Messenger, whatever. It's gone as long as 5 days, but I mean, I get the money and it's instant, and I don't have to run her down, you know, meet her over at this point in town or wherever. So I won't work for a jerk when it comes to my side hustles. I've given up a lot of yards over the years because I don't like dealing with the person. So, you know, where do you draw that line? I'm not stumping for anybody. I'm not stumping for Trump. I'm not stumping for Biden. I'm not stumping for Jorgensen. I think there's a stronger case to be made for Jorgensen on personality and policy than either candidate combined. I think that on strictly policy, there's a better case to be made pro-Trump. I think that on personality, there's a better case to be made pro-Biden. How does all that add up to you? That's the question that I choose to leave you with tonight. Y'all stay safe out there. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a wonderful night. Well, it's 6 in the morning, so I work night shift. I never know what time it is. I never know what time of day it is. I never know what date it is. So, y'all stay safe. Thanks for tuning in. Hope y'all have a good one. Take care.